Hey! So, it's been a while. You've probably noticed my hair is a little bit different to in the introduction video, and I probably look a lot older, even though it was only about 2 years ago or something like that. Back in the before times when things were wonderful, and we were hoping to do the Nuke That Myth series, and we had started filming, and my husband Randy was even doing the video editing, but his computer was not as fast as we would have liked, and one thing after another kept going wrong. For example, I was so busy with students and they had to come first. We just didn't end up getting it finished, and certainly not in a state that we could actually post them. Hopefully that will happen. I have so many ideas and I really want to do videos on them. Now, of course, I have a bit more available time. Sadly, about half of my students have left because of the coronavirus situation. I'll go into that in a little bit more detail. Now, as will become blindingly clear, probably already clear, this is not scripted in the slightest. It's basically a ramble about what brought me to the video camera again, about the coronavirus, kind of a record of what's been going on. So I think I'll start off with the fact that I think we're at day 15 of the lockdown so far. So yeah, I think it was 2 weeks ago that we received a text message saying that there is a lockdown. We can't go out except for essentials such as shopping, and we're allowed to go out once a day for exercise. Some people's interpretations of that seem to be a little different to what I think the government intended. But still, that's where we are. So it's been a really difficult time. The difficulty started even before the lockdown for us, because the Wednesday before the lockdown, that was when it was announced that the schools were closing and that the GCSE and A-level exams were cancelled. So, as you might expect, a lot of people didn't want to continue paying for tuition when the exams were cancelled, and over half of my students were to be sitting their exams this summer. So that was a little upsetting. I lost about half my students in total. 2 GCSE students and 2 A-level students continued, which was nice. I'm very glad that they're staying on. And I have some students from other years too. So it's not a complete disaster, although it did hit me pretty hard. The hitting me hard was, well, first of all, financially. Having to give some refunds that weekend was a little bit depressing. And also, we were a little bit concerned as to how this was going to affect us being able to pay the rent and stuff like that. Thankfully, Randy does have a job which thus far does not seem to be so much affected by the coronavirus, but again, I never know what's going to happen, so fingers crossed. But it wasn't just financially. I had, put my heart and soul into working with these students, and they'd worked really hard. So it was sort of ended up feeling like, well, at best an anticlimax. It was very upsetting, and of course not seeing them again is pretty upsetting. But yeah, we've just been working so hard together, and they can't prove themselves, which is so sad at the time. Probably took me about a week to get over the situation and kind of accept what was going on. But I did have this sort of moment of some solace that I don't teach to the exam exactly. I mean, I make sure they're prepared for their exams, but the way I tutor is about developing them in more ways than just making sure that they can pass an exam. So the fact that my tutoring style's like that, at least that leaves me with some satisfaction that they would have got more from it than just being able to sit an exam. Some more than others, you get out what you put in to some extent, but some of the students, I know that I've ended up helping them perhaps prepare for the future or just indulging in some of their interests, etc. I still can feel like it wasn't a big waste of time, so there is that. I'm going to really miss quite a few of them, but that happens every year, so you know they would have still left in a few months anyway. So there's that. So that's one little thing to take from it, and also since 2 of my GCSE students and 2 of my A-level students are staying with me, that's also a really nice feeling that they want to continue anyway. And we were still trying to get used to how things are different. A long time ago, it seems, my usual routine was on Sundays I'd be tutoring all day from 10 a.m. to 8:45. So Sundays were a pretty long day, and on a Monday I'd look forward to in the morning walking to a local cafe. It's about 35 minutes walk away. I'd do some preparation and the Messier Monday that I do on Twitter. I'd do that every Monday, and probably sometimes treat myself to a little breakfast at the cafe, and then I'd have my lessons in the afternoon. And I'd usually go to the cafe a couple of other times during the week, do some shopping on the way back from it. That was my routine. That was nice. And one of my favourite parts of the week was on Fridays, my day off. We would, my husband and I would end up going to somewhere like the Peak District. We'd hop on a train, go to the Peak District, go for a walk. It was it was kind of what kept me sane, I guess. We had some lovely times, amazing photographs. Thankfully, some of those memories of being able to explore outdoors we have on our wall. Randy's an excellent photographer, and a while ago for my birthday, this year I think, he ended up printing off these huge panoramas that we now have in the living room. One of Bergen from last year when we did a little train trip around Europe, and another of Mamtor, a view from Mamtor. You can see the Great Ridge. That was at Edale. So we can stare longingly at the walls and remember the days where we could actually go somewhere. But since, I haven't used public transport in a long time. I think it's probably almost been a month since we've been to the Peak District. Who knows? It's difficult enough to even know what day it is, to be honest. But we've had to change our routines, and it's taken a bit of time to really accept how different that is. Just little things that you take for granted, like going to the shops. It's a different thing now. We don't have a car, so we would always walk to the shops or maybe get the bus, but that's a no-no now. So we'd be walking to the local shops, and of course you can just buy what we can carry back. And if we forgot something or something wasn't in stock, no biggie, can just pop to the shops. About 10 minutes down the road there are some shops, and just do that the next day or something. You know, it's no biggie. Now it's some huge mission going shopping. It's a case of you've got to make sure that you know what you want to get, make sure that you're going to be stocked for as long as possible. Can't just shop as you need exactly, because you want to minimize the amount of times you're going to the shops and possibly interacting with people. So without hoarding, you want to end up getting enough stuff in to keep you going. And having the freezer somewhat stocked so that if we can't go out because we've got the coronavirus, so we'd have to be in quarantine for 14 days, or we'll want to make sure that there are some supplies for that. There's just, like I said, some huge mission. You want to go in prepared when you go to the shops. And you've got to make sure we wash our hands thoroughly before we go out. Bring our hand sanitizer, so whenever we touch anything that somebody else could have touched or coughed or sneezed on or anything, then yeah, we use the hand sanitizer. It's got to the point now where once we come back, we end up spraying everything with alcohol, so that we can make sure that there's nothing on, for example, our keys, our phones, our shopping bags, all of those things. So the downstairs would smell a little bit of alcohol fumes. So yeah, no need to drink alcohol when you can just inhale it. Joke. And of course, since Randy already had alcohol for cleaning, and he also had glycerin, so well before people were doing this whole, oh, mix alcohol with aloe vera gel, he was there well before it, weeks ago, getting his little kit out and making his own hand sanitizer. So yeah, we were way ahead of the curve as far as that's concerned. But now everyone's making their own hand sanitizer, and it looks green, but ours looks purple, so purple's better than green, right? So yeah, and of course, after we come back, not only are we spraying everything and washing our hands lots of times. My hands look about 20 years older than I do. Seem to be spending all my time either washing my hands or moisturizing my hands. Not only was my husband ahead of the curve as far as hand sanitizer was concerned, he was also telling me to social distance. Before it was a, say, government recommended thing, he was the first one who told me that he'd rather that I didn't go to cafes. So I stopped going to cafes over a week before the lockdown, maybe 2 weeks before the lockdown, I can't remember. And he also suggested that I stop seeing my face-to-face students and do online with them instead. So I suggested it. I told the parents what I was doing to try and help prevent the spread and protect the students and protect ourselves. I'd make them put hand sanitizer on entry, and I'd clean the place with Dettol between students, etc. Some of my students ended up taking me up on the online straight away. Some of the students ended up not coming back because of the exams being cancelled, and some are still continuing with online. I've been doing online tuition for a long time. I think it was about 7 years ago, my first online student. There was even a period where I was doing only online tuition, but for the past few years I've been about half and half online face-to-face, and that means that this transition to having to be all online because of the lockdown has not really been much of a problem for me, and it didn't seem to take much to convince the remaining students to go onto online either. That's really not been a problem, although there are some tutors out there who were only face-to-face, so they had to make a big change, and a lot of them reported finding online tutoring a lot more exhausting than face-to-face. So well done for them, managing to get past that. It's been a big change in other ways though. I want to use this extra time I have to be productive. I'm not one of those people who is kind of like, whoa, if you're not doing something productive with your time, then, you know, you're just lazy. No, we all need some time to adjust, and if that means catching up on movies or looking longingly out the window or just getting your head straight, that's fine. this is a scary time, not an opportunity to, not necessarily an opportunity to do all those things you didn't have time. You know, find your own way of dealing with this. I really do want to do things that I had ideas but never had the time, so cross fingers we're finally going to end up being able to do some of that Nuke That Myth. Things have changed for the better in that even though we filmed a bunch of things that we microwaved, the way we filmed it wasn't great, and thanks to Steve Mould, we now know better ways to film it in the microwave. So, you know, with age we've got wiser, and hopefully then we can make even better quality videos. So it's not like a complete loss that we have had to wait a little while before we could do them again. So I hope so. I hope we're going to be able to get that done. And I've got lots of other ideas that have come up, and I'd like to share them with you. And that's part of the reason why I'm doing this video, is to get in there again and just share some thoughts with you. Something of a little record of of the coronavirus, of what effect this has had. Kind of like a little diary ramble. I don't know. So hopefully we'll be hearing more from me, and hopefully we can get some good quality stuff on there. I am unsure as to how much I want to post this. I am a bit of a mess. I mean, I have the obligatory lockdown lack of makeup. I rarely wear makeup anyway, so it's not exactly a big deal. Also, I was due a haircut a few weeks ago, so I'm not going to try and cut my own hair, and so it's just going to probably look scragglier and scragglier as the days go by. So, well, apologies for that. You're just going to have to take me as I am.